Hi, buddy. Welcome back to the channel. Last night on Sister Wives, we watched Kody and David go back and forth. And honestly, Kody's arrogance, entitlement, and narcissism were on full display. This was all happening while he was trying, and I use that word loosely, to apologize to Christine for things she didn't ask to hear, didn't want to revisit, and frankly, didn't need anymore because she has already moved on. And that's what made the whole moment so awkward. Christine and David both looked genuinely confused by this so-called apology. It didn't land. It didn't make sense. From Christine's point of view, that chapter of her life was already closed long before she ever married David. She was very clear about that. She said, any wounds I still had from that relationship were mine to heal. I don't need him to tell me that I need healing or that he's allowing me to heal. That statement alone tells you everything. She wasn't waiting for Kody. She wasn't seeking closure from him. She had already done the work. Now, the contrast between Kody and David could not have been sharper. Their personalities are night and day. Kody immediately bristled at even the suggestions that another man might offer him advice. You could see it all over his face. Meanwhile, David stayed calm and focused on two very simple things. First, that Kody should be respectful to Christine, his wife. And second, that Kody should work on repairing his relationships with his children. David made a really important point here. He basically said, the women have moved on, but the kids are still hurting. And that's where Kody's energy should be going. David even shared that he had to do that work with his own kids. And yes, it caused conflict. I butted heads, he admitted. Woof. That honesty mattered. But Kody couldn't handle it. Instead of hearing the message, he shut down. He snapped back with, my whole purpose here is to apologize to Christine. Not to David. Not to anybody else. And that right there tells you everything about where his priorities still are. Leading up to that moment, Kody was rambling, just unloading words nonstop. He talked about how beautiful and magical his relationship with Christine supposedly was. How amazing it all had been. How sorry he was that she couldn't heal because of what he had done. Then he tossed out, I'm sorry I played the victim card. But here's the thing. Did you catch an actual apology? Because the only clear one I heard was him saying he was sorry that he didn't love her. That was it. No accountability. No specifics. Just vague emotional talk that felt more like performance than sincerity. Now, maybe more was said that didn't make it past the editing room. That's possible. But based on what we guys saw, Christine wasn't interested. She didn't feel like she needed an apology, and she clearly didn't think it was relevant anymore. And honestly, it was inappropriate. Rehashing a past relationship, professing love and regret to a woman who has already left you, who has moved on, and doing it in front of her husband? That's uncomfortable at best. Then, when that husband steps in, not to attack you, but to advocate for your kids, and you can't tolerate it. That says a lot. Kody was visibly annoyed that David stood up for Christine, that David seemed to care more about the kids than Kody did in that moment, and that David clearly understood how this whole polygamy world worked. David wasn't naive. He knew exactly what he was looking at. And when Kody is confronted, especially by another man, his defensiveness goes through the roof. He doesn't want to hear criticism from a man. He doesn't want to hear it from a woman either. What he really wants is validation, praise, someone to stroke his ego and say, thank you, Kody, you're so brave. That's why he keeps saying certain conversations are dangerous or harmful, especially when it comes to Mary. What he really means is that he's afraid someone might push back, that someone might question him, that someone might say, yeah, but what you did hurt people. And he doesn't want to hear that. He doesn't want to hear why his apology missed the mark. He doesn't want to hear that Christine has already healed without him. He doesn't want to respect the very clear boundary she set. I don't need this. Please stop. And then Kody goes on to explain, well, his version of an explanation, that he set boundaries with his kids, and he set boundaries with Christine and David. But here's the twist. When they set boundaries with him, he refuses to respect them. Yet somehow, everyone is still expected to honor his boundaries without question. Make it make sense. He actually says, I don't care what you think. I'm here to apologize. And I don't even want to be reminded of that because it'll bring me back to an angry place. And yes, you heard that right. What he's really saying is, I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think. Just let me do my apology and don't bring up my kids because that makes me mad. That alone tells you everything you need to know about where Kody is emotionally. He wasn't there to listen. He wasn't there to reflect. He was there for the spotlight. He wanted to look noble, benevolent, almost like some higher authority granting Christine permission to move on, conveniently forgetting that she's the one who left him. His attitude the entire time was basically, don't make me talk about what actually matters. Don't make me face the elephant in the room, which is my kids. Don't make me acknowledge that you're married now. And on top of all that, he kept tossing in these little underhanded jabs at Christine and their marriage. When David stepped in to defend her, Kody fired back with, you've only had 2 years with her, as if time alone somehow disqualifies respect. Then Kody launches into this defensive spiral. There's an effort I'm already making. These deteriorations happened as a party, not as an individual. Do you understand that? Translation, this isn't my fault. He flat out says that any experience David has with his own children, any advice he might offer, is something Kody has no interest in hearing because David is on the opposite side. And when Kody says that, what he really means is this. David doesn't support polygamy. Now let me translate this for you because I speak Mormon fundamentalism and I definitely speak Kody Brown. What Kody is actually saying is that he doesn't care what David has to say about the kids. He doesn't care about the damaged relationships. And in his mind, David doesn't get a voice because David understands polygamy and rejects it. David is openly anti-polygamy. He believes it's harmful. He's spoken publicly against it. He's watched what it did to his own family. His sisters were treated horribly. He lost a niece who was killed in Mexico. He lost other family members. Great nieces and nephews. These were real losses, tied to groups that exist alongside the same belief system Kody comes from. Parallel worlds, interconnected communities, and yet, Kody believes David has no right to advocate for his children. Why? Because Kody wants to hide behind the excuse that the breakdown in his relationships with his kids isn't his fault. It's polygamy's fault. Here's the problem with that argument. There was only one man who chose to bring children into polygamy, and that man was Kody. He chose it. He chose to have children with 4 women. He chose to father more kids than he could realistically nurture. And now, years later, he wants to shrug and say, well, that's just polygamy. No, that doesn't work. You don't get to willingly make those choices and then absolve yourself of responsibility when the consequences show up. You don't get to say, it's the system when you were the one who kept expanding the system. So when Kody says, the pain with my kids comes from something we were all part of together, what he's really doing is refusing to acknowledge that his actions hurt them. And here's the irony. David actually knows far more about polygamy than Kody gives him credit for. He's lived around it his entire life. This isn't theory to him. It's lived experience. So for Kody to sit there and dismiss him entirely, that's not confidence. That's avoidance. And then he says, I don't know. He doesn't know me. Let that sink in for a second. Kody is sitting there telling Christine, the mother of 6 of his children, that he did nothing wrong. He says it with a straight face. He shrugs it all off and blames polygamy, saying they were all in that situation together, and therefore none of it was really his fault. No, Kody, that's not how this works. It is your fault because you made the choices. You chose to take 4 wives. You chose to emotionally abandon your family when you met Robin. You chose not to show up when Truly was dangerously ill. You chose not to attend Isabel's major surgery. You chose not to consistently pay child support, not to cover rent, not to meet the basic needs of your kids, and not to maintain relationships with them. You don't get to blame polygamy for those decisions. You had options. You made choices. And those choices hurt people. But here's the pattern with Kody. Whenever accountability gets close, he deflects. They don't know. You don't know. Y'all don't know. And the unspoken part is always the same. And I'm better than you. I know more. I'm right. That's the arrogance. That's the narcissism. He cannot accept blame, ever. And the wild part? David isn't even the being aggressive. Kody is the one posturing. Kody is the one escalating. At one point, Kody says something like, "You can advise my kids to communicate with me, but I don't want you involved in my relationship with my children." Now listen, on the surface, that sounds reasonable. Nobody wants unnecessary interference. But what Kody calls triangulation here is completely wrong. And we need to clear this up because words matter. Kody throws around the term triangulation like he's read one too many articles on narcissistic abuse, but he doesn't actually understand it. Triangulation is not a parent helping their child process feelings. Triangulation is not a mother listening when her kids are hurting. Real triangulation is when a child is pulled into an adult conflict. A child is used as a messenger between adults. A child is forced to take sides. A child becomes the emotional go-between. That's triangulation. And ironically, Kody has been doing that for years. He triangulated Robin's kids against the rest of the family. He triangulated Robin against the other wives. He triangulated the wives against one another. He triangulated his kids against Robin, and Robin against his kids. Kody is the triangulator. What he's actually trying to say here is that Christine doesn't get to talk to her kids about their relationship with their father. And that's simply not true. If the kids come to their mom hurting, confused, or looking for guidance, she is absolutely allowed to listen. She shouldn't bash Kody, but she can empathize. She can support them. Christine is not weaponizing the children. She's not turning them against him. But by labeling her involvement as triangulation, Kody creates a convenient escape hatch. It allows him to say, "I won't have a relationship with the kids. I won't let you help me rebuild a relationship with the kids. I won't take the first step." And remember, Kody has already said he expects the kids to reach out to him and apologize before any reconciliation happens. So he refuses to initiate, refuses to self-reflect, refuses to discuss what he's done, while also blocking Christine from helping bridge the gap. That's not boundaries. That's avoidance. And the hypocrisy doesn't stop there. Kody once flat out told Christine, "I won't have a relationship with you unless you have a relationship with my wife." That is literal triangulation, putting another adult squarely in the middle and using them as a gatekeeper. Yet, here he is, accusing Christine of the very thing he's been doing all along. It's disingenuous. It's exhausting. And honestly, it's ridiculous. Then, after all of that, he circles back to his apology, saying he wants Christine to be free, to feel joy without the past holding her back, without all the disagreements, weighing her down. And once again, it sounds noble, until you realize he's still centering himself. Still framing it as his permission, still acting like she's been waiting on him to let go. "Let me do all I can to begin some healing." That's what Kody says. And then Christine calmly, clearly responds, "I'm responsible for my own closure. I'm responsible for healing any wounds before I committed to David." And honestly, the nerve of this man to sit there in front of her husband and imply that he needs to set her free so she can finally enjoy her life? As if she's been dragging around emotional baggage because she just can't let go of Kody? As if she's been unable to fully love her husband because she's still stuck on her ex? That's not just inaccurate, it's insulting. Kody has openly admitted on Sister Wives that he has a God complex, and this moment proves it. No reasonable human being looks at a woman who left him, rebuilt her life, remarried happily, and then says with a straight face, "I'm letting you go. I'm setting you free." Free from what, Kody? Were you holding on to her for the last 4 years? Because the truth is, This sounds a lot more like he hasn't moved on. It sounds like he is the one still hurt. He is the one still stuck. And that's not Christine's problem. That's a Kody problem. It's deeply disrespectful. Not just to Christine, but to David as well. And let's be clear. Christine and David look happy, grounded, settled. There's no confusion there. At one point, Christine says, "I'll defend her to the death. You won't need to with me." And then David gently tries to slow the moment down. He says essentially, "Hold on, let's look at this differently." He even admits that he used to be stubborn too, that he put his shield up once, that he had to learn. But Kody won't hear it. Instead, Kody throws out comparisons. "You've had 2 years with Christine, I had 25, as if longevity alone makes him right. Then he frames everything as all or nothing. It's my way or the highway. And David's point, quietly but clearly, is that this kind of thinking leads to misery. David keeps bringing it back to the real issue, not the women, not the marriage, not the apology, the kids. Christine says again and again, politely, calmly, that the apology isn't needed, that it's in the past, that she's fine. She finds multiple ways to say this isn't necessary. And Kody simply will not listen. When David finally tries to nudge the conversation forward without attacking, without raising his voice, what he's really saying is, you're over the line. You're apologizing for something that doesn't matter anymore, while ignoring the thing that does. And the thing that matters, the kids. David is around the kids. He sees them. He hears them. And yet, Kody digs in his heels. Nope, I still need to apologize. No flexibility. No curiosity. Just stubborn insistence. Then, David tries something else. He softens. He extends an olive branch. He invites Kody to go to Moab together. Kody shuts it down immediately. No, we're not doing that. But then, oddly adds, "I'll go to the Speedway with you." That's a whole other conversation for another episode. Because by this point, the apology still hasn't stopped. Kody doesn't take the hint. I watched this with my husband, and even he said, "This guy has no self-awareness. These people are clearly tired of hearing him." They've told him plainly, "We don't need this apology." So eventually, they do what anyone would do when a conversation goes nowhere. They leave. "We've got to go. Bye, Kody." And here's the thing. Kody knew David would be there. He knew this wasn't a private moment, and yet he brushed David off like his opinion didn't matter. Like his words didn't count, like he didn't count. That part was frustrating to watch. Christine finally says it best. "I like where we are today. I like my life right now." David agrees. Me too. And that's where Christine draws the line. She's reached her limit. Kody says he has more to say, but she's done for the day. And honestly, so was the audience. I honestly don't think Kody is capable of having a genuinely peaceful, respectful relationship with Christine and David. And here's why. I think Kody truly believes he's better than them. And anyone who might push back, challenge him, or refuse to bow down and worship him, he can't tolerate that. It's painfully obvious that he only surrounds himself with people who flatter him. Friends who agree with him, a wife who constantly validates him, and children who don't question him. So for him to paint Christine or David as somehow bad or dangerous is just ridiculous. And here's an interesting little detail. Someone I know personally was actually in this episode at the Speedway. She checked them in. She saw them in real life. And she said Kody was just as arrogant in person as he comes across on screen, completely full of himself. Her words, not mine. Awful human. But Christine and David, she said they were lovely, kind, approachable, warm. And during that whole Speedway scene on Sister Wives, Christine was clearly ignoring Kody. She looked done, unbothered, like she wanted absolutely nothing to do with him. And that's why I think Kody has to protect his ego from rejection. He tells himself that he can't be around them because they're ignorant, when the truth is, they threaten his self-image. They don't need him. They don't defer to him. They don't orbit around him. This episode actually made something very clear to me. Kody still has feelings for Christine. And despite pretending otherwise at the end, he has very little real respect for David. But that's just my take. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, give the video a thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and hit that bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, buddy.